on what?
driving in the slot. I actually
That's a
kind of,
good thing.
I have all-wheel drive, so I actually kind of have fun going around. You know, some people don't like if you have like front or rear,
No. I used to have a Jeep years ago. It was the same for me when I had that. Really good. I miss it. I miss it. Are you going to start it? Well, but not yet. That's progress. But I'll be back. I'll be back there. Don't call. I won't call.
Now, do you want the closed chair or the chair?
I am happy to take her car chair so that she who is in charge has less distance to walk. Yes. Do we have any music? Should I get us a musical book?
I'll do that. I will get us each a music book.
Or it might make us reflect. I might be fire and brimstone.
testing the microphone. There we go. Yeah, now I hear it. You want me to do this one too? Want me to test this microphone too? Okay, got it.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Lincoln. My name is Kathy Disney. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a worship associate of this church. I am joined on the chancel this morning by worship associate Amy Miller. Over the last few years, the way that we have met has often changed. Or maybe the other way around too, I don't know. But whether in person, on Zoom, or a YouTube live stream, or in some way of being that we cannot yet imagine, worshiping together is a chance to deepen our connection with the sources of meaning in our lives and to proclaim who we are and what we are about, throwing open the doors of our congregation and proclaiming the radical love and welcome that is at the heart of our faith. The Unitarian Church of Lincoln aspires to be a loving community, uniting reason with spiritual exploration to transform ourselves and our world. We have a big vision here, and we know that creating a loving community begins with welcome. So whether this is your first time here or your 500th, if you come here hopeful or heartbroken, whatever your age, gender, skin color, whomever you love, you are welcome here. As we enter into worship, take a moment to center yourself in this space. Find a comfortable place with your body. Take a few deep breaths, and let us continue into worship with our chalice lighting.
Each worship service begins with the lighting of the chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Our chalice lighting words this morning are from Thich Nhat Hanh, and he directs us during the reading to look at your hand, whether it's your left hand, your right hand, the back, or the front. As you look at your hand, he writes, "Whose hand is this that has never yet died? Who is it who is born in the past? Whose hand is this who will die in the future?" If you look deeply into the palm of your hand, you'll see all your parents and all generations of your ancestors, All of them are alive in this moment. Previous generations, all the way back to single-celled beings, are present in your hand at this moment. Our first hymn this morning is number 311. Number 311, Let It Be a Dance. Please stand as you are willing or able for our first hymn.
Our story today is called Alma and How She Got Her Name by Juana Martinez Neal. If anyone would like to come forward for the story, you're welcome to do so now. And I would also like to call forward our very special guest, my mother, Beryl Aschenberg. Who gets a round of applause?
Hi, everyone.
Would you like to begin?
I would. Alma Sofia Esperanza Jose Pura Candela had a long name. Too long, if you asked her.
My name is so long, Daddy. It never fits, Alma said.
Come here. Let me tell you a story about your name. Then you can decide if it fits. Sophia. Sophia was your grandmother. She loved books, she loved poetry, jasmine flowers, and of course me. She was the one who taught me how to read.
I love books and flowers. And you too, Daddy. I am Sophia.
You are indeed. Esperanza was your great-grandmother. She hoped to travel but never left the city where she was born. Her only son grew up to cross the 7 seas. Wherever her sailor son went, so did Esperanza's heart.
The world is so big, and I want to go see it. You and me, Daddy. I am Esperanza.
You are indeed. Jose. Now, Jose was my father. He was an artist in a big family. Like many people had back then, every early morning he walked to the mountains and the plazas to paint every day. Your grandfather taught me to see and love our people.
I wake up early every day, and I draw a lot too. This morning I drew a kitty cat for you, Daddy. I am Jose.
Now, Pura was your great aunt. She believed that the spirits of our ancestors are always with us, watching over us. When you were born, she tied a red string around your wrist, a charm to keep you safe.
Hello, Pura. It's me, Alma.
Hello, Alma. Candela was your other grandmother. She always stood up for what was right.
I am Candela. I love the story of my name. Now, tell me about Alma, Daddy. Where does that come from?
Well, Alma, I picked Alma just for you. You looked like an Alma. You were the first and only Alma. You will make your own story.
Alma, Sofia, Esperanza, Jose, Pura, Candela. That's my name, and it fits me just right. I am Alma, and I have a story to tell.
Yes, indeed.
And although that is the end of our story, I thought that I would add in just a few words before we go. The theme of the services this month is heritage, and Kathy had asked me to find a story about things that have been passed down from generation to generation. And it would be remiss of me to neglect to say that my mom is also a director of religious education, if you didn't know that, and had the same role as me at this very church many years ago. So it is her I have to thank for leading me in this particular direction. I also have her to thank for many other fantastic things that she has passed along. Her love of sunsets, the intonations in her voice, if you didn't catch that, her love of being a mother, her strength of spirit, her enthusiasm for the beauty in life, and the care, kindness, and love that she brings to those around her amidst so much else that I couldn't possibly begin to list everything in the context here. I love you, Mama. And as our guest musician plays our next song, the children are dismissed to their classrooms.
Good morning. My name is Jason Slaughter. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees, and I want to offer a special welcome to those of you who are visiting for the first time. So, announcements for today. A Medicare and Medicaid forum will be held after the service today at 11:30 a.m. The Medicare enrollment period ends on December 7th, so we want, if you have any questions or concerns, that's why we're having the forum today. The second town hall will be held after service next Sunday, December 3rd. This is your opportunity to ask questions about issues for a vote at the winter congregational meeting on Sunday, December 10th. Save the date, Saturday, December 9th, for the annual SOUP, S-O-U-U-P, supper. More details in the Friday e-blast. Chat with the church office if you would like to sign up or to receive weekly e-blasts and the monthly electronic newsletter. Thank you so much.
A central part of our services is the time we join together as a community to mark the moments of our lives. We share with one another our joys, our sorrows, the events that mark the steps on our journey. The threads of sorrow and those of joy are intertwined in the fabric of our lives, present for all, remembered by all. We share those threads, and then they are woven together with those of others in our community. Our joys are shared and magnified. We are comforted in our sorrows. I invite you to type into the chat or to speak into this shared space your name or the name of another you wish to have remembered in sorrow, and Amy was going to help me with those who are in the live chat. Please say your name or the name of another you would like to have us bring up in sorrow or concern. Stephen Gaines. The family of Don Powell. Alexander. Oralee Ferguson. Laura Lee Woodruff.
We have one sorrow that also leads into a joy. Marcia posts, sad we didn't get to California to see our kiddos with Ray's diagnosis of pneumonia, but thankful he's improving and we are safe and warm.
Now I invite you to type into the chat or speak into this shared space your name or the name of another you wish to be remembered in joy. Today is Barbara's 77th birthday. Nicole and her family. A Thanksgiving with no politics.
In the chat from Chelsea, joy, new Thanksgiving traditions and time with those dear to us. From Evelyn, joy, hearing the accordion again. And I'll add my own joy. It's not just getting to hear the accordion. I have been taking lessons from Julia for the last year, and it has been such a life-enhancing process. So, Julia, you are a joy.
We know, oh, sorry, one more.
Christine says, snowflakes.
We know, too, that there are some joys and some sorrows that are yet unspoken, but deeply felt. Let us hold a moment of silence for everything that is unspoken. Thank you for your presence. Our next hymn is number 352 in the gray hymnal, Find a Stillness. Please remain seated, and we will sing this hymn together. Thank you.
Each year at our spring congregational meeting, our members vote for 10 organizations for Share the Plate. The Share the Plate recipient for November 2023 is Out Nebraska. Out Nebraska embraces and celebrates the full spectrum of LGBTQIA Two-Spirit people who often experience discrimination, disparities, and isolation, especially transgender people and people of color. Out Nebraska is dedicated to empowering, celebrating, and growing the communities in Nebraska of LGBTQIA Two-Spirit plus people. Our donations this morning will be given to Out Nebraska. You can donate loose cash or checks. If you do a check, just write Share the Plate in the memo line. You also could consider text giving. Simply text UC Lincoln and the amount you wish to give to 73256. I want to add that as someone who spends a fair amount of time down at the legislature, this last year was such a hard battle for people who are trans, for people who are allies, friends, and family of those who are trans. Doing nonprofit work in a hostile environment is very difficult, and Out Nebraska was relentless. They remained positive and on message. They remained dedicated to lifting up the humanity and dignity of all Nebraskans in the face of overwhelming political opposition. They truly are an asset to our state and to our community, and I hope you will consider giving to Out Nebraska this morning. Will the ushers please come forward to accept the offering as we listen to our next piece of guest music. Our reading this morning is a poem by Marge Piercy entitled To Be of Use. The people I love best jump into work head first without dallying in the shallows and swim off with sure strokes almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves, an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire must be put out. The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust, but the thing worth doing well done has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real.
Good morning again. Work is his love language. That is how I heard my sister-in-law describe my oldest brother, which is to say, he works all the time. And that, as the saying goes, runs in the family. As we finish up the theme of heritage this month, I want to talk to you about my own personal family heritage. Not ethnic or cultural heritage, but the heritage of family values and traits that have been passed down to my generation from those before us. Truth be told, almost everything about heritage, capital H, is just fraught. It's complicated and messy and tricky and just about impossible to get right most of the time, just like family. I am from around here. To be more precise, I am from about 60 miles south of here. I am a Nebraskan and proud to be one. I don't have to wink or put myself in air quotes when I say I am a native of the Midwest. This is my home, and I have to own all the good and the bad that goes with that statement. I was one of 5 children raised by my mother and her parents. My sister died 26 years ago, and my brothers and I all still live in the Midwest. My maternal grandparents were an enormous influence on our upbringing, and the family values and traits that I inherited go straight back to them. My grandfather was born in 1899, and my grandmother in 1906, and they were old-fashioned for their time. Being in a relatively isolated rural area and raised by older people, I can say that I was raised in a different time than the time I grew up in, if that makes any sense. And all of that is to give you some foundation for what I will say about my heritage of these 2 family values, hard work and doing your duty. If asked to define myself in one word, I will say I am a worker, period. All my adult life, I have worked at jobs that were jobs. Not career paths or salaried positions, but basic, paid by the hour jobs. Where I am from, the Blue Springs United Methodist Church's women's group is called the Willing Workers. I was raised in the United Methodist Church, and if it weren't for some rather serious theological differences, I might still be there. My experience is that they embody that poem by Marge Piercy, and I love that. It suits me. Those are the folks I am comfortable with. We were certainly brought up to work. We lived on my grandparents' farm until I was 11, when my mom remarried and we moved a couple of miles into town. My granddad was always giving us jobs to do. Paying jobs, some of them. Not the household jobs like doing dishes or vacuuming or peeling potatoes. You did those things because you lived there. But I remember we were paid a nickel for every dandelion we dug up. In the country. You could not hope to keep the dandelions at bay, but Granddad was trying to teach us something. And we weeded the gardens, and as we got older, in the summers, we mowed and walked the bean fields and weeded those before they got too tall. I told you I grew up in a different time. After he graduated from the University of Nebraska, my granddad went off and worked in the oil industry in Texas, mostly at desk jobs, and saved so he could buy out his sisters and retire to the family farm in Nebraska, where he would work outside all his days well up until his 90s, and help raise 5 grandchildren, which he was not counting on, to work as he did. And those lessons stuck with me, and I am grateful to have learned them. There is a downside, a dark side, to all this emphasis on labor. To be honest with myself and with you, I have to own that too. For myself, working is really the only comfortable way for me to relate to others and to the world. Having a job to do when I am around others is a way for me to deal with my introversion and social anxiety, what we used to call shyness. I am lousy at leisure, although I hope I am getting better as I get older. Although we differ in degree of introversion, my brothers share this trait. If you put my brothers and me in a room with nothing but ourselves and time on our hands, things get awkward very quickly. But give us a shed to tear down, and suddenly we are a happy, unified family unit. The other downside, of course, is judgment. Looking down on those who do not measure up to those very high standards of working hard. Feeling guilt if I am not doing enough, not working hard enough. The snobbery of good physical health, and pity at best for those who do not have the physical capacity to keep up. It is not mentally healthy and completely unhelpful for getting along in life, and it is wrong. But these attitudes were also part of my upbringing, and I have to own that they are part of me. My sister did not measure up in terms of hard work and responsibility as defined by the family, and she was pitied by some and looked down by others. I judged her harshly, and I am not proud of that. And where does a sense of duty fit in the 21st century? Speak out. I charge you by that sense of conscientiousness to which we have never yet appealed in vain, says the Pirate King to young Frederick in The Pirates of Penzance. The full title of that comic opera by Gilbert and Sullivan is The Pirates of Penzance, or The Slave of Duty. Frederick's sense of duty is absolute, and so he lands in trouble in a funny with lots of patter songs kind of way. My sense of duty that was instilled by those who raised me, along with the value of hard work, goes back and back and back. I have seen old photographs of my grandfather's mother, and she has got "work hard and do your duty" written all over her. What was instilled in me was that to be an adult in the world is to be responsible, to be reliable, to do what you are supposed to do. In the poem that Amy read, Marge Piercy says, "I love people who harness themselves, an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again." to do what has to be done. I was taught by my elders that if you are asked to help or assist with something and you don't have a very compelling reason to say no, you say yes. That is what responsible people do. And you follow through on your commitments. That becomes your duty. As an aside, go out sometime, not now, and Google this. Staged Judi Dench saying yes. It is a funny little YouTube bit, but it says something about honoring your commitments. Having a robust sense of duty and responsibility means that you can be counted on. And indeed, that is true in my family. My 3 brothers and I are disgustingly responsible. It's probably painful to watch. And because we are disgustingly responsible and reliable and say yes when asked to be part of something, especially if it involves hard work, we have each been leaders in small ways in our own spheres. That is the good side, the positive aspect of having an instilled sense of duty. And I am grateful for that. The downside of being the slave of duty is that you can work yourself into a chronic, joyless exhaustion that can imperil your health, both physical and mental. Self-care was unheard of in my great-grandmother's day, and I was raised with her values as passed down by her son, and so it does not come easily to me. As I said earlier, I am trying to get better at some things. But I will say this about uncomfortable or unpleasant or difficult things that do have to be done. If a sense of duty is the only thing that keeps you going, that prods you to put one foot in front of another in performing your otherwise unbearable responsibility, use it for the tool that it is. There is no shame in that, and things will not stay that way forever. The other dark aspect of this particular value, family value, goes like this. If I say, this is what I am supposed to do, it is a short and dangerous road then to say, this is what you are supposed to do. And then this is how things are supposed to be. That rigidity and resistance to change and to multiple ways of being and doing is always hovering right out there somewhere. In my own family, that progression of statements was easily and lightly made without any apparent examination or reflection on the consequences of such statements. When I first came to the Unitarian Church of Lincoln in 1998, there were plenty of opportunities for me to put these family values into practice. There was work that needed to be done, and I jumped right in. One of the statements in our covenant is, we each contribute to the work of the church. You bet, sign me up. The more I came here, the more committed I became to this faith, to this church, to the community of individuals that gather in this place to transform ourselves and our world. A sacred duty, as worn as that phrase is. And it took a while for me to understand the differences between the values of my upbringing and the values of the Unitarian Church of Lincoln. I've lost my place. In my family system, with hard work and doing your duty, being responsible and reliable and honoring commitments, you are earning your worth. My granddad had a saying, nothing worthwhile is easy. And it is a short walk from that to no one worthwhile takes it easy. Here in this church, in this faith, a person's worth and dignity are inherent. Inherent. Not earned or unearned, but inherently, naturally always there. What a change. What a relief. What a blessing. One of the shared values of the proposed Article 2 of the Unitarian Universalist Association bylaws is generosity. Not commitment as an obligation to do what you are supposed to do, but commitment as joy. I have work to do to make that leap from one to the other. For myself, the wide and expansive is more challenging than the straight and narrow. Working hard and doing your duty in themselves are not always or often a path to personal growth. But I am getting there. As I said, I have very good support here. So what to do with heritage, capital H? My family elders have left me with a legacy of values that are at the same time beneficial and rather toxic. How do I cultivate the good, beneficial aspect of these family values and do away with the bad, toxic, and hurtful aspects? In truth, I don't think I can do that, and I am not sure that I want to. It is all part of who I have come to be, a complex and three-dimensional human being with inherent worth and dignity. Acknowledging and owning the restrictive and judgmental parts of this legacy of values can, I hope, lead me not toward guilt, but toward empathy. I am still quick to judge. It is often the first thing I think. I am now working on it not being the only thing I think. As I look at my hand as we did in our chalice lighting, I can see a long line of my ancestors teaching values all along the way, and I am filled with gratitude, but not blind gratitude. The Unitarian Church of Lincoln and Unitarian Universalism can be a home and a haven for people like me. It's in the mission statement. We show up. You knew I would work my way around to that, didn't you? Transforming ourselves and the world isn't going to get done by itself, you know. Plenty of opportunity for labor of all sorts. In the last couple of months, 17 people showed up on a Saturday morning and moved 3 tons of rock to create better drainage just north of the building. 13 people finished up the task of winnowing our bylaws down from 18 pages to 9 pages and change. You tell me that's not hard work. And 19 volunteers from this congregation loaded Thanksgiving food boxes at the Center for People recently. Perhaps work is our love language as well. Amen. Our closing words are a poem by Nebraska poet Marjorie Sizer from her book, I Have Nothing to Say About Fire. The poem is called My Son with Ghosts. The ancestors, shadowy forms, line up and overlap behind him. He is trying to build a house, and they know how to build only the house they were given. They hold the board as he hammers, or they are the arm bringing the hammer down, or they sabotage as they were sabotaged, pulling the board away. He bends up to pick the fallen nail and begin again. We will close our service with singing hymn number 67 in the gray hymnal. We sing now together. Please stand as you are able. I think you will know the tune.